I want to talk about the what if of the Sixers. If the processed, should the Sixers be a dynasty?
Yeah, if they had Jason Tatum.
If it works, yeah. But
if they draft Jason Tatum, yeah, they would have won years ago.
So I don't think they would have had that pick because I think they would have been better.
I think if they would have got Embiid in 14 and did the same process, 17, they just would have. If they just, well, I mean, I don't know. Like, just if the Celtics seem to be of the mind that everyone was going to pass on Tatum so they could just re-up and get him at 3. So they obviously have some insight. But if they draft Jason Tatum, then yeah, that's the what if. If they had Tatum and Embiid and Butler in 19, yeah, they're winning. Even Tatum at that point, they're winning.
Who in Ben Simmons' year could they have taken?
Ben Simmons.
16?
No, instead of Ben Simmons.
Anybody.
It was Ben Simmons or Brandon Ingram. They would.
Yeah, it could have been Brandon Ingram. They could have taken Jamal. They could have taken Sabonis that year. They could have taken Pascal Siakam. There's multiple players. So but none of them were at the top of the
Yeah. Well, we're not going to be like, oh, well, they should have took the 27th pick. Like,
no, but he asked, like, who else could they have taken? I'm just bringing up the players that all excelled from the draft class. But yeah, Ben Simmons was the consensus number 1 overall that year, similar to Markelle Fultz in 17.
Yeah, they made the right picks at the time.
They definitely made the right picks, but
it just didn't work. But they made the right picks for the time. It's just Ben ended up forgetting how to play basketball and then going through what he's been going through for the last 4 years. And Markelle was hurt instantly. But they drafted Joel knowing he was hurt. Like, I think Joel was, I don't know if he was going to go number 1, but he was in the conversation. I'm not going to say he dropped because Jabari and Andrew Wiggins were doing what they were doing. But the Sixers knew Joel was going to miss at least his first year the moment they drafted him. So they went into it knowing that. I don't know enough.
Didn't he get a deal after year 3 after that 26-game sample size or something?
I don't know, but he was hooping on the minutes restriction in his rookie year. Like,
yeah, he was like 23. I feel like 23 points a game and like 9 rebounds or something like that.
He was doing some, because I remember seeing stuff for like on a per minute basis or something. He was like not leading the league in scoring, but somewhere close to it or something like that. But yeah, if the process worked out, I mean, you got Markelle would have been the guard they needed. They didn't draft Ben to be a point guard. They drafted him to be a forward. And then because of Markel's injury, he ended up being moved to the point guard because they didn't have one. But Markelle was meant to be that point guard and Ben was just meant to be a wing, like a point forward type. So if you got Markelle, Ben, they end up getting Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, JJ Redick. Like, that team, I don't know if they win a championship or when they do, but assuming Joel Embiid's healthy too, like, that's basically an impossible team to beat. Like,
for real, Mars.
Yo, so
for real, that team was crazy.
Just for clarification, so just how good Joel Embiid was. Embiid played 31 games with the 76ers, and they gave him a 5-year, $148 extension.
And he deserved it, Swiper.
I agree.
He deserved it.
He was spectacular, and he could earn. I think he might have earned a full 178, if I remember correctly. He averaged 28 and 2.5 blocks per game in 31 games and got a full rookie contract
playing like 25 minutes or something.
Right.
Per 36, he averaged 29, 11, and 3.5 blocks. So
is Joel, and I'm just talking about just talent wise. Is Joel Embiid a generational talent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any big like that's
a generational player. Like, you're not seeing Joel Embiid again.
Yeah. I feel so bad for the Sixers just having this conversation. Joel Embiid,
I don't.
He hasn't quite panned out, but he's panned out. Like, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's just like, are we ever gonna get there?
Just the 76ers are trash. They are their worst enemy. So just to be clear.
But how, Swiper?
Because their decision making, their ownership has made terrible decisions across the board.
I'll only give them the Nerlens Noel and the Jaleel Okafor.
But Nerlens made sense at the time, though.
It did. He did. Even though he tore up his knee, that knee injury wasn't what it is 10, 20 years ago. No. So it did make sense at the time.
Well, Philly fans don't like Josh Harris, and so I think they have reason for. I think the Nerlens Noel, the
Jaleel.
Yeah, Jaleel. And then I think the Jimmy Butler debacle. I think they should have kept what was your GM's name, bro? I just slipped. Yeah, Hinkie should have stayed. Remember Colangelo? How you say it?
Colangelo.
and then he had a burner and all that other stuff. That whole nonsense. The whole Elton Brand got there. He's still there. Yeah, there's just a lot of different things that happen. Personnel decision making, the Doc Rivers thing. They just
Yo, I
all
feel
kind of
bad for
stuff.
the Sixers. We don't talk about how much of a shit show that's been since
It was
Joel got there.
it was garbage. It was
Yeah,
But
trash.
here's-
it hasn't been
here's
great,
also
but
the thing, though.
they've made good drafts in my opinion.
They have. It's just, I mean, Tyrese Maxey.
They got him at
They still got
21.
Maxey.
No,
20.
they drafted
21.
Zaire Smith when
13.
they drafted Mikal Bridges and traded him for Zaire
Yeah,
Smith.
that was 12, the
That
12
was-
pick or whatever.
God.
Yeah,
That wasn't great. But
generally
generally,
positional drafting.
They need a
Well,
documentary.
They
on
flipped
this.
the other way because they drafted best player and then they drafted positional drafting by the time 2018 came around. And then they made that mistake. They had Markelle Fultz. So from 2016 on, they had Ben Simmons.
Mhm.
Then they got Markelle Fultz, and they got Zaire.
Two number one overall picks, who are essentially almost sure shots.
Well, they have 5 total top 3 picks from 2014 up.
yeah.
15 was third, 16 was 1, 17 was 1. Yeah, but they had the 14, they had the number 3 pick.
Yeah.
15, they had the number 3 pick. 16 and 17, they had the number 1 pick. So 4 straight years they had a top 3 pick.
That kid actually should have. The kid from Duke, what's his name? Okafor. I thought he was going to pan out. I did.
What the hell?
I really did think that. I really thought he was going to pan out. And 14
I
into
was
Embiid. You keep saying that, Mars, and I do understand why. I do. I do understand why. But I thought that we still were making that transition from Shaq, and the big man was dying. And I felt like he could be one of those big men that could bring the big man back. And he just didn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of them. I was right. Like I wasn't huge on him, but I was all the way bought in on Ben and Markelle, and that just didn't work out. So on those 3 straight years, I guess I'm shooting 1 for 3.
Now you got.
I think Ben was good. I think Ben was good. I'm not doing. Ben was a good player. Ben was good. It ended badly, but he was good for the first 4 years or whatever.
Even then, if Jimmy sticks around, I guess Jimmy and Ben got some type of chemistry, so maybe he would have been better for Ben. But I'm saying if Jimmy sticks around, Joel's still Joel, and they continue along that trajectory, I still think Ben would be cool today. I obviously can't project that he would be injured, so that might be the case too. But even right now, he's apparently healthy. I still think he'll be good alongside them too. I think he would. He would.
Ben's having a resurgent season next season with the Nets, so like Ben is still good. Don't worry about Ben. It just didn't work out, and he's not going to shoot. That I think expecting him to shoot is where I think everything went wrong. He's not going to shoot. That's just not what he's going to do. So once you accept Ben for like the player he is now, would you want him to work on his offensive game more? Sure, but we got to be realistic. He's not going to. Clearly, he's not going to. So with who he is, you just had to have the right pieces around him, and I think Markelle was that perfect piece. He was a guard with legit size who could handle ball handling responsibilities, but could also play off the ball because he shot the ball really well. Like he was the perfect guard. He ended up being hurt the moment he got there, so that didn't work. And then Joel was always like trying to cater to Ben, and his mid-range game wasn't at the highest level, especially when you look at like 18, 19, 20, etc. It didn't really elevate until like 21 onwards. But now you got Joel Embiid with this mid-range game, like that opens up the game for Ben Simmons.
That would have been perfect, Mars.
Like it just the timelines didn't match up, the injuries didn't help, and then Joel has now become a better playmaker than he was 3-4 years ago. I mean, I know Swiper brought up the assist to turnover ratio, but not all turnovers come from playmaking. So, I mean, a lot of it is
Post control.
I mean, yeah, sometimes he loses his handle, sometimes like post control, like you said, double team. Like he struggles with some things, but also his turnover numbers in a 6-game series is heavily skewed by the fact he had that 1 9 or 10 turnover game. Generally speaking, he was actually pretty solid in terms of turnovers over the course of the playoffs. He just had that 1 bad turnover game that brought his average up to about 4 or whatever you said.
Talking about this year?
Yes, he had that one high turnover game, and then the others were reasonable. So it wasn't as bad.
Yeah, but
as
to be fair, again, clarify, this was his best playoff that I've ever seen from Joel Embiid
by a significant margin. But yeah, I think Joel, everything that I think could have gone wrong for the Sixers, like it went wrong. Like Jalil didn't work out. Jalil didn't work out. Markelle didn't work out. Ben didn't work out. And these are guys who didn't work out when it was like it was a one-player draft. Now I know there were people like, oh well, Brandon Ingram's a better scorer, but like the world knew Ben Simmons was the number one pick. People were like, well, Lonzo's doing what he's doing, and Jason Tatum is looking good at Duke, but the world knew Markelle was the number one pick. They made the right pick. It just didn't work out, and sometimes that's how it goes. So like,
even Jalil and Nerlens Noel.
Well, think about this, Mars.
But I was right about Jalil, so that's cool. But Nerlens was another one. Like defensively, he was really good, but offensively, he was just bad. And it was like, we can't have him out there when we got. And then Joel comes along, and Joel's just clearly better than him. So like, we don't really need Nerlens anymore. But
and then remember that was during the time too where the NBA hadn't yet shifted. People were still playing two bigs.
The double big.
Yeah. So it hadn't quite. Steph Curry and Clay were Steph Curry and Clay, but
the Warriors also didn't help. The Sixers probably would have ran two bigs, but the Warriors coming along, it's like, yeah, we can't have Joel at the 4. We just can't do that. So you know what? We're just gonna have to go with the one big. Joel's clearly better. Jalil's minutes went down instantly his second year, rightfully so, because he wasn't that good. But like, I think they made the right. Like even though I wasn't high on Jalil being the third pick, because everyone knew Kat, D'Lo, and Jalil were the top 3 picks. Whoever was available, the Sixers were going to take. Jalil just happened to be the one to fall to 3. Like, that was still the right pick. Like, they made the safe picks. It just turns out the safe picks had a bit of risk to them too, and it didn't work out. But, like, I can't blame them for what they did in the draft. Like, they made the picks that made sense. It just, in hindsight, I guess it didn't make sense. But
well, if you think about what Philly did, I mean, how many franchises could have the number 1 pick in the draft twice in 3 years and lose those guys? And not have him. Like, they ain't have Joel Embiid for 2 years. And then they lose Ben Simmons for a season. Like, that could basically cripple a franchise. The fact that they did what they did and were able, I mean, Joel Embiid was able to be as good as he was, actually made them respectable. But most franchises, when you have the number 1 pick in the draft in 14, then in 16, and then you didn't have those guys for 3 years. Don't forget, Joel Embiid didn't play those first 2 years, and Ben Simmons didn't play in 16. So them guys are not playing. And you got so essentially those were wasted draft picks at that time, because we don't know if Joel Embiid's actually going to turn out to be a player. We don't know what the story is with Ben Simmons. He had a broken foot. Is this guy made of glass? Do we have the same problem that we had with Joel Embiid with him? And then you get tricked into taking Markelle Fultz instead of Jason Tatum, and then that actually makes it worse. So, damn.
So that even we keep bringing up Markelle. March, you just brought up Lonzo. What if they would have got De'Aaron? Like that's another guy. That would have been crazy too.
Well, De'Aaron was really bad to start. Like, it took him a couple years. Well, a year and a bit. But like there was options, but I'm not in the business of like, oh, they should have drafted this guy, because at the time they made the right picks.
No, they did 100%.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, now in hindsight, De'Aaron's probably the best guard in that draft, unless I'm missing someone. Jason Tatum is the best player in that draft. I don't think I'm missing anyone. But like at the time, Markelle was the pick, and it made sense for their team construction. It made sense for what they needed, and it made sense just from a talent perspective. It just didn't work. Same thing with Ben Simmons. But Ben Simmons.
It's also impossible to predict off-court issues that were directly affecting you, and Markelle had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, like, well, I don't know, but I'm gonna take Swiper's word. But yeah, like it's. Things just went wrong for the Sixers. There's a lot of what ifs in terms of the last like 10 years of the Sixers franchise. A lot of them.
But here's also the thing too with the Sixers is I don't know if you guys technically want to say that the process is over or the chapter's closed or whatever.
It's over.
But they still do happen to be, and I just brought it up and I shot it down, but I'm still high on the Sixers. They still got Tyrese Maxey. They just got Paul George. Which shout out Tyrese Maxey. He was the last pick that they got right. But they got Tyrese Maxey. Joel is still Joel, top 5 player in the NBA. Some people have him top 3.
Is this the last iteration of the process?
The process is done. This is just a new era. This is just the Sixers. This ain't the process anymore.
Mars,
when Ben left, the process was done.
Well, see, I think it's because the process started with Joel.
Joel Embiid, the last one standing. Everyone else is gone.
That's what I'm saying.
Respect Tyrese Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey isn't part of the process. Tyrese Maxey
is in a
different era. Because the process ended when they stopped tanking. They got Maxey through an OKC pick. Well, no, not an OKC pick, but they got Tyrese Maxey through that Mike Muscala shot. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with the Sixers. Like, that's not part of the process. That's just you drafted him. Cool. But like, that's not why they got him.
Rob said,
This
can
is
we
why
talk
I'm
about-
saying the process is still going, because Joel started the process. So the process doesn't end until either Joel goes to another team or until he retires or until something else happens.
Nah, the process started when they traded Drew, and then they got Nerlens Noel and Joel, right? Both of them in the same draft.
Not did they?
2014, right? Or was Nerlens 20? No, Nerlens was 2013, right?
They got
No.
Nerlens before Joel?
After.
I thought it was
15.
Joel Nerlens.
Nerlens was 15?
It was Nerlens. Remember, Nerlens, I think, came out with Cat, if I remember correctly.
No, there's no,
No.
way. No, there's
What year
Nerlens-
did Cat came out? 17?
That was
That came
15.
out in
There's no
15. That
Nerlens
came
was
out in
13. There's no way I'm figuring.
Nerlens, yeah, it was
No,
Nerlens
Nerlens
and
was-
Joel, and then it was
Nerlens
Joel.
was drafted in 2013.
Mhm.
Nerlens was the start of it. Nerlens was the first pick.
Oh, because
Not
he
Joel.
missed his first year.
Yeah, because he had the torn ACL.
They just
Right.
kept
No,
doing
yeah.
it. That's right. It was 3 straight. Well,
So
almost.
Nerlens started. So yeah, the start of the process ain't even there no more. So
No,
Ron,
the process is still there.
no.
The
Because
self-dub
Ron's point
process
was
is
about who it
still on the
started
team.
with. Ron's point was about who it started with. It
I
started.
mean,
with
it
Nerlens
started
Noel.
with Joel too. Like it started with all of them
Oh
guys. It
my
started with
God.
them.
So
Not
he
one
did-
of them guys.
So
Oh,
Philly
my
didn't
God.
draft him; they traded for him on draft night.
Yeah, on draft night. Yeah.
Yeah, they
'Cause
traded
he
for
got
him on
drafted
draft
to-
night.
Chill. What's
We're
happening right
drafting
now?
The
Yeah.
New Orleans, because I played the 2K14 micro a lot. That's how I know Nerlens was 13. He got drafted to the New Orleans Pelicans. Yes, the New Orleans Pelicans. But then he got traded for the Alfred Payton pick,
Mhm.
who was 10, I think. So like the Sixers effectively drafted Nerlens Noel. So Nerlens was the start of it, and then it was Joel, then it was Jalil, then it was Ben, then it was Markel. Those were the process picks. And then everyone else after that is no longer the process picks because they were no longer tanking.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.